because if you leave me, I don't know. Whatever
it's
that
like
would
automatic,
be,
right?
You give, no, that's not the case.
When we get a divorce, you're going to get 50. I'm going to get, it's going to be mandated.
I need my money now.
What you
Run me my coins now.
All this stuff I'm battling in my head. And at the same time, I'm having marital problems because we ain't making no money.
Because wife is like, you flying all jet set
and I'm in
all over the United States.
I'm
Where's
in
the
Atlanta
coins?
like
Where's the coins?
months at a time. But then nobody got the money because we was behind it. There was no communication between the whole team.
Yeah.
A lot of the communications was between my dad and my brother and his fiance because they was like the money people, the credit people.
Yeah.
While he was like the business visionary person, right?
Right.
So when they discuss problems or whatever they try to do, they'll discuss it. But when problems happen, then we'll discuss it.
Right.
And I was like, that's okay. What's going on? We're glad to have you at another episode of Minding Your Biz podcast. Listen, everything that you hear or see on this podcast episode is for educational purposes only. We have not seen your books. We have not seen your specific situation. Make sure you please seek your financial advisor for anything pertaining to your situation. Peace. What's going on, y'all? It's another episode of Minding Your Biz podcast. I'm Dr. Black Wealth, CEO of Eagle Financial Group.
And I'm Mrs. Bad Financial, CEO of Tax Dragon Pros.
What's going on? Like, what's happening in the world today? World of business, what's happening? What's new?
Oh my God, like the world is like turning upside down.
Right.
But
right?
Life is lifing.
Always. Always.
But so just with me, I'm moving.
Right.
Like I'm changing offices. So I had to really kind of work on my budget, my financial budget, to make sure that we're more profitable, right? We were dumping money into a space that wasn't serving us financially anymore.
How was that? Like,
it was tough.
Physically, emotionally?
All the things.
Right.
It was physically tough because I had to move.
Right.
I had to pick up stuff, put it in boxes and move, which is a horrible experience.
Right.
I feel like that's a business opportunity for someone to help people move more efficiently.
For sure.
Yeah.
A moving company?
But not just come and pack my boxes. I mean, not just come and grab my boxes.
Got you.
But like help me pack and organize, right? Because I'm looking for stuff and I don't know where it is.
Makes
right?
sense.
Like phones, paper, pens, like everything is all over. It was not categorized or organized. So I feel like I'm sure there are business out there to help you with that, but that's y'all next business opportunity. Help businesses pack.
So was the move like abrupt or you had time to plan? I feel like
it was abrupt.
Okay.
It was abrupt.
Okay.
It was planned, but not abrupt. Well, but abrupt. And so that was a big thing.
Right.
And then having kids, trying to move.
Right.
Initially, I was connected emotionally to leaving the office. Right. That was a thing. But I had to really do the numbers and distance myself emotionally from facts and emotion, right? The facts are the numbers.
Okay.
What are the numbers telling us?
Right.
Do we make a financial decision now that's going to keep us afloat and moving and in a positive direction? Or do I keep operating off of feelings and emotion and making poor business decisions on how I feel about what business looks like or about what success looks like?
So it's almost like not almost. You got an emotional attachment but detachment from the business to make a logical decision that it was time to go.
For sure.
Right.
I think sometimes in business, because it is your baby, you've built this thing, you've nurtured it, you put in the time, the attention to get it to a certain level, right? 12 years in this thing. But also with the business, so this is our third space, the largest overhead, the largest build out. And so you're emotionally attached to this thing. Right. And it's a little prideful, right? We're not going to act like pride and ego is not there, right? We spent $250,000 building out this thing, right? So
not an easy walk over.
Exactly.
Right.
But we had to do what was in the best interest of the future of the company.
Right.
And so when you think about Fortune 500 companies or CEOs, sometimes you got to lay off, you got to downsize departments, You got to absorb other companies, or, you have to make tough decisions. And sometimes people don't get that, right? Business is cyclical. And so if you're in a down spiral, you have to adjust for that and make difficult decisions that sometimes you may be emotionally drawn to. So,
for sure. So like what, and I guess this is real time, so we could either get into it or we can't, but what would have happened, right, in your business cycle, right?
Right.
As we go through the 4 business cycles, what would have happened in the business cycle that will make you say, hey, we got to get up out of here, or finance is not looking right? Is that loss of clients? Is that loss of, like, right? Because somebody could be struggling with that. Like, how do I maintain my status and keep pushing, or, at what point do I keep moving, or what point do I cut my losses in the said thing, right?
Sure.
And so it looked like you made that decision. So, maybe you could help us.
So sometimes, usually you end up sticking in the thing a little too long. So the faster you rip off the Band-Aid, the better you can stay afloat, right? It's almost as if you're in a ship. And the more holes you have in said ship, it's harder to stay afloat, right? Because you're constantly trying to scoop the water out and patch the holes, right? And so when you look at your numbers, if you have a particular part of your business, right, which was the space, because it was set up in a separate business entity, and the other business entities are holding up said boat, trying to patch the boat, and you're trying to scoop the water out, then it's like, okay, the other businesses are supporting this ship, and so we need to cut it off, right? And so if you have particular parts of your business, let's say you're a bakery, and you have you started a new line. You're like, I'm going to do this DIY part of the business, right? I want to send out packing cake kits. And you got to put money into that, right? You got to do packaging. You got to look into how it ships, marketing. If that isn't working for you, right, for a particular period of time, right? Because you do have to test the market. So this was 3 years. So it wasn't like we tried it for 6 months and it's done, right? It was 3 years trying this thing, and the other parts of the business were propping up another. And so the profit margin kept shrinking. And I'm like, okay, it's going too far. We have to get out of this sinking ship, or the entire boat is going to go down. We got to patch this up, or the entire boat is going to go down. So I think if you're a business owner and you're thinking about going into expanding your business, right? Because sometimes people talk about having those 7 streams. Business is risky, and you do have to test the market. You do have to put money out there. It's a part of business. So I don't want people to be afraid and go, oh my God, I don't want that to happen. It's a part of the journey, right?
I think it's important for people to realize, like, what's doing too much, right? So just for instance, I get consultation calls all the time. Oh, Tariq, I got, I watched either my videos or somebody else's videos, and I want to, I got the 3 LLCs, and, I'm thinking about the trust, and I'm thinking about doing this and thinking about doing this. And I say, okay, great. Well, tell me about how business is going or what's happening, right? And they're like, oh, I still drive trucks for a company. And I'm like, well, what you need all these, you don't need all these things, right? I'm not saying that it's not how business is done, but for right now, like, let's just get going. Let's just figure this one thing out. Let's just figure this out for one thing to lead to the next to drive success. And I think a lot of stuff in the space is a lot of people saying, oh, I'm the tax strategist. Let me help you with this LLC, to the trust, to this, to this, to this. And it's not your lane right now, but you guys stuck something out over a period of time. We're talking 3 years before we made a decision to, okay, this not working. We got to pivot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times we're battling in our head before we even end the stuff, before we got started.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the problems that I see with most business owners, that, they just don't have the good faith and direction, or do we just like a kid at the candy shop? We want to get all the candy right now.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that is having 1 or 2 good streams. So we didn't go into this additional situation while the others were struggling. That's why I think people get it really twisted, because they start these other revenue streams when you got like a trickle. You got like a late You got whatever is less than a stream is my analogy. So you got to have a consistent, steady flow of income in one business before you can move on and start another. And so most times people are stretching the one revenue to try to make 7 out of that one, instead of saying, hey, this one is self-sustaining, great, I'm gonna take some of that and invest and do something else, and then let that materialize. Once that's self-sustaining, up and running, now I'm gonna take some of that and make this materialize. But the thing is, we don't wait until it's self-sustaining and materialized, so we're like stretching the same dollar.
No, for sure. So as we, continue in our happenings, I think for me, like what's going on in our space is,
well, for you just you
right,
know what I mean?
So I'm like real time figuring out how to. Business is doing decent. I'm always hard on myself, so business is doing decent. But I'm in a space where I'm trying to figure out. I know I need to grow a team, especially as we get ready for tax season coming up. And there's a need to educate and train, which is just my sweet spot. This is what I love to do, right? But I guess I'm pointing that out because it's focusing on educating and teaching and training, as well as continuing to do said services in my business, right? So not get into the space of, I'm just the new hottest coach and consultant, and I just abandon my business to just only coach and consult, right?
Yeah.
And so last week we did I guess you could call it a 5-day challenge.
That's
I
right.
did it for free for tax professionals, and I thought it was good. We started at 8. We was almost midnight every night.
Yep, I was there with you. Like, I can't believe we got here till midnight. But it was good. It was good. One thing we could do is talk. So.
Right. Right. So didn't even put a time constraint on it, but we were just teaching, right? So the purpose of it was for more tax professionals to understand, know, and how to acquire more business clients. Because I think the industry, from a business and a finance perspective, the more we could be versatile in business, because it's the thing now, the longer our firms could stay open, right?
For sure.
Not downplaying the individual taxes, because we still do those. So come at me if you need some. But so the challenge was really, really good. And I had no idea. I knew I wanted to do it because I had some tax preparers that I needed to train for my own firm. So I didn't go into it, though, with the intentions on like, let me sell or pitch an offer.
Yeah.
But as I approached it, and
I need to be more intentional about what's happening here.
I need to be more intentional, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had just had the training with my mentor, Marcus, right? And we went through like an offer and a launch 2 days. So I'm like, let me test this out, right? So I did it. We pitched it. I thought the pitch went really, really good. We got some people to sign up. Decent offer. So we're going to go into teaching some tax professionals how to deal with and obtain more business clients. So
nice.
That's good.
I know, that was exciting. It was fun. I liked it. I was like, okay.
No, it's really good. And then I guess, as you know, so you guys know, last week's episode we talked about partnerships in a little bit more from the business entity standpoint. So we broke down the legalities of the business. We broke down from the partnership aspect of LLC to partnership, actually forming or doing the 1065. We also talked about going into the private equity. So make sure you go back and watch that as we segue or finish that here. But the point I'm bringing now is we're still on the journey of partnership, and then the power of being in that proximity, right? So just so everybody's kind of clear on who we are and where we're coming from, right? So you and Tiati had y'all tax business, and then y'all had y'all service bureau where y'all was educating and training other tax professionals, right? And so as a part of that, I am a part of that, a business that's a part of the service bureau, right? Family dynamic, right? Is being my aunt, uncle, and me being nephew, right? And so I was able to use, not just because we're family, but just from our relationship in business, to leverage our relationship and partner. Because from last week, I taught you guys' community. It wasn't a community I built. It was a community that y'all built. But we had the opportunity to partner and come together as we both was on the call, which was magical. I like the whole field of it. I like the energy. I like the synergy we brought. I like just how we just went about doing it and went in a partnership in that aspect, right? So remember last week it was like how you can get in a partnership. It doesn't always look the same.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. And so that was the power of the partnership that we have. And then it's understanding that we're family, but also understanding how business works, right? And what we need to do or don't do or how we need to act and be. So I thought that was very powerful as we,
Partnerships are great.
Right.
Right? When done the right way.
Yeah.
Some partnerships can go really, really, really bad if they're done the wrong way. And most of that comes with communication. That is like the fundamental thing, right? Key, factor, whatever you want to say, building block, right? That is the thing that partnerships, relationships in general, but we're talking about business partnerships are founded on. And that communication is really key. Like you said, I'm in a partnership business with my husband. So that is all the things. Spicy and sweet. That is like...
Let's get into that.
That is...
It's like Sour Patch, huh?
It definitely is. 1 minute is sweet, the next it is sour.
Right.
Right. And it took us a minute to kind of get to a automatic, smooth place, right? Because at first we didn't talk about the business, right? And so it's different because I'm in the business, right? I didn't I'm going to help do some phone calls, right? Or I'm going to help cold call, right? I'm like showing up, I'm building my own book of business. I have my own brand. There are people that come and asking for me to do taxes. I'm not just like, okay, I'm going to help you as a receptionist. No shade to those women who do that. Right. I'm just saying it's different so that we...
It's like each of y'all were tax preparers building your own clientele and your own clients.
Correct. So there was a certain amount of business and equity share we needed to talk about.
For sure.
And a certain amount of salary that we needed to talk about.
As you guys got more serious about the structure.
Absolutely. And the structure of the business and what that really looked like. And I think people don't have that conversation. For sure. And I think that's when it gets bad, right? It kind of goes left because people aren't having conversations first about the business. How are we going to operate this?
Right.
Okay. Hey, husband, guess we're husband and wife, but we're partners in this thing. I'm helping you. So I need my name on something here. We're 50% ownership, or if I'm 60% ownership, or 30, whatever that is, we need to talk about said thing and put it in writing, right? Not just, well, you my wife, you get 50% anyway, because if you leave me, I don't know. Whatever
it's
that
like automatic,
be, right? You give, no, that's not the case.
Well, if we get a divorce, you're going to get 50, I'm going to get, it's going to be mandated.
I need my money now.
What you mean?
Run me my coins now.
Okay.
Right? Some of y'all not going to agree. I know it's all right. Y'all can put it in the comments. And stuff.
Right.
But if we are building it together, right? Or I need a salary. I want equity share. Right. We can do distribution on the back end, but I need a salary up front to manage and run me. Just the same if I would be anybody else. Any other business. I can't go into another business and work and not get any compensation.
So do you think you like an outlier in that type of mindset? That I don't typically see that in the husband-wife scenario.
Yeah, because they not talking. But the woman definitely feeling some type of way.
She just don't want to say nothing.
Oh, that's right. She don't want to have the conversation because she doesn't want to keep... Okay, first of all, you don't want to keep asking someone for money.
Right.
So even if... Put me on payroll. Let's talk about how I'm managing me. And how that is attributed to what I'm bringing to the company, right? As a reasonable salary for whatever it is that I'm doing.
Right.
Now, if you don't think I'm entitled to equity share, that's another topic. But if I'm helping you in the business, if I'm a receptionist, they pay me a receptionist salary. If I'm your assistant, pay me an assistant salary. And whatever I'm doing, give me a W-2.
So what happened if
for my stuff?
Maybe we just getting started, so money not like...
Oh, that's different.
Okay,
that's different.
Got to approach the
because when we first got started,
okay.
there, like I said, we didn't have that conversation initially. I was working full time at another place at Wells Fargo, and he was working and then jumped 100% in.
Got it.
Before I came in. So what I was still kind of helping, right? But
bit.
I wasn't, all in.
Gotcha.
Well, once I left my job,
and you was like,
I'm all in this thing.
Right.
And it started getting weird for me. Because I was like, I don't want to keep asking you for money.
You want to be able to hold your
I need to be able to do my own thing.
Gotcha.
When I want my nails done, I don't want to ask. I'm grown. I didn't come from that space that I need to.
No, that's real. I'm thinking about.
And a lot of women will feel that way.
For sure.
And it kind of makes them feel like a child.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And don't have or just don't want to have that conversation. I'm thinking about my own situation. So of course, my wife and I are not like. I mean, she helps me, but she's not like officially a worker in the business.
Sure.
But she don't work. So that's the role she wanted to play, decided to play. But now I'm thinking about it like, maybe I haven't really intentionally thought about how that really makes her feel. Like maybe I need to be trying to get more serious in our situation to where I can say, hey, here's X, Y, and Z amount of money every week, every 2 weeks. So that you don't have to ask me, right? Or make it like
because then you're feeling like you always asking me for money.
Right.
I know that comes in there because I've had that talk. And I will be like, really? I'm asking you for the money because I have your children.
I got something to do.
And we have something to do. So then it became a credit card. Well, I'm going to give you this credit card.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, thank you too. And I need a salary.
I need money too.
Or I could go back to work and it's...
This is real. I'm thinking like, man, I need to change my whole situation.
Well, people don't have the conversation because if just full stop, unless I'm doing something on the side.
Right.
If I'm like, I'm going to start my own Amazon store, whatever it is. But what I do at home is to help keep our family together so that you can go shine.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the support, if I'm the wind beneath your wings, the wind needs something too.
Right.
We need help too. And it's not a great feeling when you have to keep asking someone for just basic needs. Like, I want to get my nails done, I want to get my hair done, I want to take the kids to the movies, I want to do something special.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it's just kind of weird. So I think if we have the conversation early or at different parts of the business, right? As the business is evolving and changing, because that's what happened. Initially, I was just very transparent on how I felt. Like, I don't feel comfortable. Like, we did plan on me leaving my job, and me being a full-time mom for a period of time, right? Because we did have nannies, and the kids were in part-time daycare once they got a certain age, and that really allowed me to go into the business full-time. But during those different times, we talked about the money. How much am I getting paid? I need something a month. Also, too, I want to handle the household bills. Right, I was also almost like a house manager.
For sure.
So I handled a lot of the household bills so that he can not think about the stuff. Oh, the kids' daycare, the kids going on a school trip, the electric, the rent, all that. We got a whole other business that he's taking care of. I can at least manage the household stuff, but with what said money. Now then we was like, okay, well now let's get on some accounts. Now let's get on because I'm helping. I'm a helpmate. I'm here to assist. So that's kind of where that went. And then as the kids got older and I was able to kind of re-engage into, the financial, my tax base. Now it's like, hey, I get paid as a preparer plus a salary, and then I'm getting distribution at the end.
So how long was y'all married before the business was a thing and y'all was married? Was this like 2 years in?
Oh, our stuff went kind of fast. In the
right.
So you getting all up in my business?
Though.
Like, no. So we dated. Sure. Okay. So when we got married, he was doing business. He was doing taxes already for 2 years.
Right. Okay.
He was already 2 years in the tax space.
For sure.
And then we got married, and that was the first year into American Family, into an insurance.
Okay. So 2 years. Okay. So then I guess now what I'm trying to get into is what's the dynamic between home and work, right? Like, is there boundaries?
Oh no, there's no boundaries. It runs into each other. It's like
if I'm mad, we mad at the office.
Oh yeah. It's dysfunctional at its best.
Like, do the employees feel the energy? Like, I don't know,
Larry, what you? Oh yeah.
Like, I'm hungry, but you go figure out what he want to eat. Like, what's...
Absolutely. All that. And that's not how it should be. I'm not saying that that's cool. I just know that it's difficult because life happens. And we tried really hard. I think we did a really good job at not bringing personal stuff all the time into the business. I think we tried. I mean, our office manager was in between us for a reason, right? So his office was first. The office, then mine was at the end for a reason, right? So that we could keep some stuff distance. And if we got to cool off, I'm going back here.
Right.
Let me get this together, and hopefully by lunchtime,
you good.
We good, or we'll work it out.
Parm.
We get that chicken parm.
You get that chicken parm. He calmed down.
And we had to have clear guidelines and directions. Well, it was more for me because I'm usually the one that goes too
more
hard
structure
for sure. I'm usually the one that sometimes crosses the line. I'm gonna just be honest. He's very good at keeping it separate, right? But you could tell because he might not talk to me, right? He might not come to the end. So I'm like,
come see me today.
He's still mad. All right, whatever. He's stuck. So it would bleed.
You don't want to come see me.
And it bled both ways, right? So our personal life sometimes would bleed into the office, and I said we did a really good job at that. But also our business life bled home. We never turned off business.
Gotcha.
It was always 24/7 business.
You think that was healthy for your relationship? Just connecting husband wife?
At first, we thought it wasn't healthy, right? Because we did all the counseling.
Okay.
So we thought like we need to connect outside of business. So we tried to have these like no business dates. We're gonna go to dinner.
Impossible.
And talk not about business, right? How are the kids? How are you feeling today?
Right.
The counselor was giving us all the stuff.
Was it very
Talk
scripted?
About your feelings. It felt so awkward. We tried it maybe for like a week. It was like, listen, this is what we need to do. The business is X, Y, and Z. We got the team, the numbers from last year.
Right.
So we were like, that's us.
Right.
Long as neither one of us was feeling neglected, right? So if I was like, we talk about business all the time, I need space, but we both was like, let's go.
Right.
Let's talk about business. So it was cool because we both were in that
world.
Oh, for sure.
No,
but I think if you're uneven, then you really have to make up for where your partner does not want to talk about business all the time. Because we're both in that entrepreneurial spirit. It's good. We run it all day from the morning to the night. But if someone else isn't on that same wavelength, you do have to adjust. You got to slow down.
You do.
They don't want to talk about your funnel today. They don't want to talk about your landing page and whatever you got and the KPIs. They don't want to talk about that.
Right.
So you do have to respect that and draw the line and meet people where they are. Right. And I think it's communication. It's communication.
I think with y'all dynamic, for sure, I remember reading, and I know I point out black people, but I think it's just a thing. But I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I felt like from reading that, I understood better that a lot of people are intentional about just relationships, period, and they go into marriage different.
Yeah.
And it's not really talked about, and especially in our community, on like how to court, how to find a mate, right? How to produce a family. And so I remember there was I can't remember what
people
chapter.
Too emotional.
Right. It's all feeling, but it's like, hey, boy meets girl, girl meets boy, we vibing.
And that's good initially.
For sure.
But I want to know your ambition, your heart, what's your dream.
That stuff don't show up till after the fact. We already intertwined.
That's why you gotta be safe. And we ain't talking about that show, but you gotta be responsible.
For sure.
No.
But I know, like, I remember he was like, listen, I'm going into real estate, and he was very intentional about him building his real estate portfolio. At the same time, he was intentional about his wife, I think her name is Kim, his wife Kim, building hers.
Yeah.
And they were very intentional, like, if something happened to we husband and wife, but if something happened, you got your own thing, I got mine.
Yeah.
They had the paperwork in place, prenups, or what all that stuff looks like. And I think for us, we never go into any type of relationship, any type of dynamic, thinking about that prepared. It's always off feelings or what we hope or think can happen, which leads to all the problems.
Yeah.
And then because we don't have those perimeters in place, then you got fallouts, right? Especially when you talk about family.
And money.
And
for sure. And I think it's good to have a third party in place if you feel like it can't happen. And everybody really needs to talk about the facts of the matter. Like Tiati he did say that he was going to have me sign a prenup. Mm-hmm. And I just laughed because I'm like, you didn't have any money. Like, right. But no problem. What is it? Let me see. What is it? I'll draw it up.
Let me get my people to look at it.
What is it? But I took it seriously. I kind of laughed. I didn't get upset. Right. I'm like, well, that's how he feel. Whatever he got, he want to protect it.
But maybe he thought so
cool. You want to protect.
He knew he was going to be somebody.
But you can't protect and perpetuate. Like in future, you protecting what you have now. I mean, I guess you could put things in place like, hey, if we gross 20 million, you only get X, Y, and Z.
For sure.
Yeah, not when I'm involved. That's our business. What you talking about?
Like if I'm thinking,
I guess you could lay all of that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be specific or vague as you can. So I was here for it. That's okay. Bring it. Let's see what you got.
Let's see what you got.
He ain't bring nothing.
He just wanted to see what you was going to say.
I was like, go for it. What's in there? I need to see it first. What's in there? What's in the prenup?
Maybe something special.
What's in the prenup?
But I mean, if more people approach business that way, I think that we would go a long way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even in the fallouts, like it would be okay. Like, it wasn't a thing. We thought it was, but we got the parameters in place from a business perspective that protects us as a business. And I feel like it'll lay over the relationship.
And it'll protect both people,
sure.
Right? So we have an operating agreement.
Yeah.
We had several, of course, the business, what I'm responsible for, what I'm doing, and what he's doing.
Right.
And when the lines get blurry, we say, we need to go back to the operating agreement.
We need to figure out what's happening.
Right. On both sides. So I'm like, you know what? That wasn't my lane. I'm sorry.
Right. No, that's a good husband-wife. That's a good husband-wife story because there's a lot of people out here navigating that. That's the first thing. Oh, my wife, my husband, or we starting this. And it's real, right? Because that's why I asked about the relationship. The reason why it's real is because you got a lot of us that's quote unquote getting it out the mud. A lot of us is coming from broken households together, merging households, trying to figure out and a business that's stressful. So I think about my partnership situation from.
All right.
This was
drink my.
From not husband wife, but this was father and sons, right?
Father and children.
Father and children. Because I don't want to leave nobody out. So father and children, and so we coming into. I guess if I'm gonna get into it, so it's staying heavy. So from a partnership standpoint, and I can look back at it now and critique all the things and say this is.
Well, before you go into it, let me pose you this question.
Okay.
As you said, looking back at it now,
right?
Were there things that you would go back and do differently?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. And the reason why was because, I don't think so. So the reason why,
and not saying that because how your trajectory went, it was good
for sure,
but not putting spirituality into it, right? Because your journey is your journey based on how God is going to lay it out. But
that's right.
I know, I got you. What God has for you is for you.
But if it wasn't for that,
I
would have done it different.
Okay,
I would have very much so been very much so intentional about everything I did.
Okay.
Not that I wasn't, but I would have been more of a voice.
Okay.
I think is what I'm getting at.
And I think that communication and partnerships is what I'm saying, right?
It is.
Communicating your feelings, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, is how good partnerships work.
Standing on your own 2 feet. So especially when you're dealing with family, we have to remove the factor of, I think that's the first thing we have to do. Yes, I understand that this is auntie, nephew, or mom, daughter, whatever, father, son. But now that we brought into a business, I think the roles have to go, right? So I know in the Army, like back in the day, before all the stuff they got going on now, when people used to have problems, they used to take rank off chest, and we just gonna...
Okay, knuckle up.
We gonna do
Knuck
it out.
if you buck.
Right.
Okay.
So... in that regard, I'm saying like you got to remove the roles off of this. Like I can't look at him like, oh, that's my dad, so maybe he knows best, or be in that childlike environment where I'm just like, I'm not gonna speak up for myself.
Right. Even if you see things
that's wrong, that
could have changed the trajectory of the business.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got into it right into a horrible I'm not gonna say horrible, but a strong pivotal point because I was Northwestern Mutual, got fired. And so before I even got fired, my dad started the companies like early 2019. I think I got fired November of 2019. He started the stuff like May or something like that. So he's like, "Hey, I got this idea. You know, we got it's 5 of us. It was my dad, me, my brother, my uncle. My uncle, and at first it was another partner, some lady he knew, and then it became my brother's fiance. Very quick. So he's like, I got these businesses. It's 5 of us, and we started 5 businesses. And he was like, I really want you to be a part of it, blah, blah, blah. So throughout my journey with Northwestern, I would have conversations with my dad. Like, man, I thought he was like the greatest salesperson that I knew, right? Because that's what sales was. So I would always talk to him like, hey, man, like this will happen today. Or, just talking to my day, trying to learn how to close business. If anybody know Northwestern, we selling life insurance, right? So in that aspect. So he was like, I got these businesses. And throughout that period, he will always tell me, like, he will always say, I see that you're going through something, but this won't, this is not where you meant to be, right? This is not where you meant to be. And, me going through the business, I'm thinking I'm going to be a lifer. I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid of corporate America with Northwestern. So I'm like, man, I ain't trying to hear all that. I'm trying to help me right now. Like, help me, please, right? Like, don't tell me what you see me doing. I'm trying to tell you I'm trying to be career right now. So anyway, he brought these businesses together. Like, it's 5 businesses. It's 5 of us. We're going to do our thing. And I was very reluctant. I had strong pushback. Right. So, because our relationship wasn't the greatest growing up, right? I never, it was periods where he wasn't there. So it's the typical father.
Right. And you were reluctant just based on because you felt you didn't know him, or you felt there wasn't enough details in how you were going to manage the business?
I think it was both.
Okay.
I think it was a little bit of both. Like, I didn't really know how he was I always thought he was a successful businessman but that was me as a child.
Yeah.
Right. Like, my dad owned businesses. My dad's side of the family, we business owners out here. Right. But also just trying to connect with him because we never really, it was always just separation in a relationship. So I was also reluctant because that piece about me always asking him about advice, he always would be like, oh, you trying to, you this is not where you meant to be. So it's never like helping me solve my problem now. It was just getting me to see, like, he wanted me to do something different. Right. So then as I'm having conversations.
Working on your mindset.
Right. So as I'm having conversations with my wife, she's like, well, no, he ain't supportive because he's trying to get you to do something else. So, but I just had that, it was just a feeling. I can't really explain it. I just was like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
And it shows up. Anybody who knows me, my heart is on my sleeve. If I'm feeling a way, you're going to see it. I can't hide it in my face or what I say, right? So if I'm talking to him, he's like, hey, we need to do this. I'm giving pushback. Well, what about this? Have we thought about doing this? Well, if we're going to do this, we need to blah, 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 blah. And so I would always get these phone calls like, basically like I'm the bad seed. So one day I just prayed about it. We in Miami, he's like, I had went to Miami for a Northwestern trip. And of course that's where they was at because my brother lived there at the time. And so he's like, come to the house. And so I met everybody. And it was just a conversation like him laying out the vision. And so I went home and prayed about it. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I was straight up with God. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
And the vision that was laid out
was what?
Was just emotional. It wasn't fact-based, based on what you guys were going to actually be doing in the business.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
Right? Because it was emotional. It's like, hey, come on this journey with me.
Like, I
think we could do it. We could do it. But nobody put pen to paper and said, hey, you're going to be in charge of the tax, so-and-so and so-and-so, to build, grow,
so it was
and scale. But
a tad bit of that.
How you get paid.
Right. It was never none of that.
Right. The compensation on what was going on, how that was going to.
Right. So
who was going to handle debt? Who was going to handle like the business
for sure
part of it?
And that was the biggest part of my reluctance early on summer, all the way into that, right? Because I was heavy into. There was a lot of stuff going on. We had lost our car the previous year, so we was carless. We had a situation with the car after it got repo. We had another situation trying to get a car, and so he knew all that because I'm talking to him about just what's happening, right? So it was a lot of play on, so I remember that summer, this was before I came down in October, it was, they got a Tahoe and a Suburban because one of the businesses was a transportation company. So it was the picture in the group chat. Boom, we got the 2 vehicles. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking like, we come on, like y'all can help me because we need a car.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
This time
so you was assuming,
right? It's like
based on your feelings,
based on my feelings
from the picture
right?
that was like no.
but that's how you know what I'm saying. So but that's the perception he was given. And so even when we came to talk, it was like, oh, this is. We got this business services and solutions. We're going to do taxes. We're going to do financial, and I'm still on my insurance kick, right? And more so that was because I knew that y'all was already in taxes. And that was something that, not that I was ashamed of it. I just wanted to figure out my own path, my own way, right? So I never wanted to even do taxes. And he knew that. So it was that, right? And so then you got to even talk about how he even formed the businesses. Now that I could think back through it, was emotional based because one of his sons felt like he didn't have a relationship with his uncle, and so my dad thinking if we do the business and we connect the family, everything is peachy.
Because I think the overall the idea was amazing idea.
I think it was,
but I think if you guys would have, like you said, removed the roles, and was able to really communicate how you felt, like you go with any situation. Hey, I don't really understand, because most people are about self.
Right?
How do I benefit? How do I get paid? How does it work for me?
Right.
And so if you don't have those conversations, people think it's selfish, or I just want to come out like I'm a team player.
Right.
Well, you're not being honest.
Right.
And so that dishonesty, and not because you're a liar, but you're like, no, this person has my best interest.
Right.
You're assuming a lot of things. Oh, it's going to work. I want to be a team player. I'm down for the cause. But at the end of the day, it's what's best for you, and how are you benefiting from said collaboration.
For sure.
And if that's not laid out, then you definitely need to have pause for cause. So you need to talk about that.
And it was never clear. So I remember I prayed on it. And I said, I'm like, God, I do not want to do this, but what's my direction here? And so it was basically like, no, Tariq, you need to go all in on this, right? He was like, basically, you need to go all in on this, right? So that's what I did. I said, all right, cool. I'm gonna go all in. So I called my dad. I said, hey, listen, I'm gonna be all in. You won't get I won't be combative, and I'll just do the thing, right? So he was like, no, it's great. I think you should put it in the message so everybody could know that you're on board, this, that, and the third. So I said, okay, cool. Did that, and we went right into tax season, I think, for 2019 tax year in 2020. So business was all right? We started, in my mind, kind of late. We advertised around February-ish. It was 3 of us that was dedicated to actually doing the tax preparation. So not that everybody wasn't a factor, but they would bring in like trinkles of people. But the 3 of us really took on the mantle of bringing in the tax clients, right? Turned out I was like, oh, this is really not that bad, right? Like I already know most of this information from the financial planning side of it, dealing with taxes. So we got into it and, got going. First year we made 6 figures. Obviously, it's a collective of us, right? So I think we made something like 200,000 or something gross or whatever. So the way our business, that part of it was very clear on how we got paid from the tax perspective of it. So we were on commission, basically like $100 a return, right, out of the fees that we brought in. And so first year was good. We got our money, we got paid, we did our own taxes, things was all right. Even in between that, though, we still had it was a lot of relationship issues inside of it between father and son.
Right. So a lot of that personal was bleeding.
It was bleeding over. It was slowly leaking out. Because at the same time, we run in a real estate company where we doing a fix and or we was flipping a property to do a rental in North Carolina. So we running really like 2 to 3 businesses at one time. Mm-hmm. So
and you're all trying to figure this out.
All trying to figure this out.
So all businesses are new, budding, starting. They take time, attention.
Our relationships as personal and business was new because I have a relationship with my dad, but not that close, and even my siblings. But it's not like we was that close. So all the stuff is new. Then I'm in Colorado. They're in Miami. Property in North Carolina. So I'm in and out of the state, right? Like, and it was just real bad. So in my mind, he sold me on the vision. Like, if we just stick this out, we'll be able to do this. We'll do this. And knowing all the stuff that's going on in my back office, right? With my wife and my kids and stuff. And so the whole time my wife was just like, no, like, she was just like, she just couldn't get it. She just couldn't get with it, right? She just was like, no. And I'm the whole time just assuring her, no, you know, my dad, he wouldn't do this. He know this, what's going on. He know this and that and the third. Like, he just wouldn't. So fast forward to 2021, and we go into business, or let me back up. So 2020, we get into a situation where this is more so the relationship part that comes up. So here's the things falling apart. We bought a piece of property. Now looking back at it, thinking it was really too much. It was premature. $10,000 mortgage on a mansion up in Alpharetta. And we put a lot of money to fix up this because the house sat dormant for like a couple years. Put a lot of money into this place to fix it up.
A beautiful home.
Nice home, right? So we were working that angle, working that space. Then a lot of the personal stuff will come up with how he and I interacted, right? Almost like the husband and wife situation, because what was going on personally was bleeding into the office, right? Because we had office set up out in Conyers, employees. So he would feel like, and I'm just I don't gonna say emotional, but if I'm feeling a way, it's you gonna know it. Like you ain't gonna be no hiding it. I can still muster up and do what I need to do, but don't talk to me.
Right. It's a clear sign.
It's a clear change. The energy is changed, right? So, and he was big on the perception on how we look. Like, oh, the employees in here, you shouldn't be or act or do this. And I would be like, well, I'm not. I go right in the back, like you said, in my little cubby, in my little office.
Mind
my business. So if I'm not interacting with you, just leave me alone.
Right.
So, you know, it was real clear. So my dad's side of the family grew up in the nation. My grandpa was, you know, captain in New York. And so it was a point that something happened in our relationship, and he called me Wallace Muhammad. So anybody who know the nation story, I'm not going to get into it, but anybody who know the story.
We ain't got enough time for that.
We ain't got enough time for that. Anybody who know the story about the nation, we know how crazy or the backsliding that Wallace Muhammad was as a son to his father, who was Elijah Muhammad, wasn't really supportive of everything that he did. And it really messed my head up because I was just like, why would you, in my mind, why would you think that would be me? Like that means I'm intentionally trying to sabotage.
So if you had to go back, what barriers of communication would you think you would have put in place?
To be honest with you, I don't even know if I could, just off the type of person that he is. And that's what I had to realize. I had to realize, like, no, well, Tariq, it's because at first everything is I'm on me. I'm
right,
like,
I'm just thinking, like, if we're in a business relationship and the idea of business is good, sure. And we're in some parts of business it was profitable and making money, right? Our personal side and how we're running it is just not good. But if we can put something in place and hold ourselves accountable to that thing, could you think that would have been a better option for you or even any other business owner that's like, hey, our personal might be a little rocky, but if we both agree and stick to the rules of the road, maybe we can make money here.
And be honest with you, I don't even know. Like, I think I see what you're saying. I think that's true, and I think we could have done that. And I think we did do that. But then again, that also boils down to us making money. A lot of times when you're not making money, all the things is a problem. So we trying to stretch ourselves across 3 different businesses. First year was okay. We taking $200,000 to
run
one
and
business
manage.
to run 2 other businesses, right? So really money was just leaking out. All the loans we got from from everything that we did to get loans, money spitting out, running out. So as money kind of slows down, of course, there's a natural like, well, what you doing? What I'm doing? why you not doing this, right? And then on top of that, we dealing with our personal dynamic.
Yeah.
That's the whole Wallace Muhammad messed my mind up completely.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, why would you even think that? And then there was a play on him with, you know, me against just everybody in the family. Well, nobody thought that you would do good, but I thought, you know, I did this. Why would your granddad tell you this? And, you know, your aunt, uncle, this and that. Like, all this stuff I'm battling in my head. And at the same time, I'm having marital problems because we ain't making no money.
Because wife is like, you flying all jet set
and I'm in
all over the United States.
I'm
Where's
in
the
Atlanta
coins?
like
Where's the coins?
months at a time, right? Like I was here 3-4 months at a time. Like and because of the time difference, I'm tired. I'm up early, going to bed late, so I'm not really connecting with her. Like it's a thing. It's a thing.
I know.
So I'm
sure.
stretched left, right, front, back. Like I'm just like I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
And I remember going home Thanksgiving of 20, and I was just like, I have to be able to think different. And the first thing I did was lost weight. I was 245. I had dropped down to 214 between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I went on the keto boy. Like, let me get this thing shaking, right? So I came back. I'm thinking I'm coming back into 2021 with just a new, I'm ready. Wasn't ready. When we came back in here, it was just more stuff.
Yeah.
Then I figured out like, oh, well, we ain't getting paid. Another 6-figure year, but then nobody got no money because we was behind. There was no communication between the whole team.
Yeah.
A lot of the communications was between my dad and my brother and his fiance because they was like the money people, the credit people.
Yeah.
While he was like the business visionary person, right?
Right.
So when they discuss problems or whatever they try to do, they'll discuss it. But when problems happen, then we'll discuss it.
Right.
And I was like, that's unfair.
So in business, in terms of setting up your board and your chain of command and how that should work,
right?
Going back because now you know business, right? And you're like, dag, if we would have set this up different,
right?
Or if I would have forced them to have these conversations because we all own partnership in this. We all are on this board. We all have equity share. There's no you are greater than the next.
Yeah.
We all share in distribution of ideas and responsibility.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have plugged some of the holes, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we could have ended differently that'll savage our personal relationship.
For sure.
Right? Because some of it didn't have to go as bad as it did.
It definitely didn't.
Right.
But I don't think nobody had the filter to pull out.
Right.
Basically, right? So I remember I'm like, oh, we're not getting paid. And then so what happened was I go home right before my son's birthday. And I said, man, I called him. I told him, I said, hey, I said, listen, I know the business is going through the stuff that it's going through. I ain't backing out. I ain't leaving. But I got to figure something out so I can bring money home into my house, right? So he was like, exact words. And I understand as a man, you got to do what you got to do. I get it. The very next day, we had like a team meeting conference call. And the first thing he said was, oh, your brother want to take what we taught him and go do his own thing and leave the businesses and just go do his own thing. And I said, what? I just had a conversation with you and was being honest about where I was. I never said I was leaving the business. Right. But I need to do something. And I was really trying to figure out, like, am I about to Uber Eats out here? I'm about to be on all the Instacart. I signed up for all the stuff. Yeah. Trying to figure out exactly what I was going to do. Because why? We need money. My wife ain't trying to hear all that. And she also knowing our relationship dynamic. So she in my ear. Oh, he ain't what's in the bed. You know, he ain't thinking about you. And I'm battling all that. No, that's my dad. That's not him. But then having to come to the realization, well, no, that's true. If I'm pouring into you, telling you, you know, we got 4 kids, 2-bedroom apartment. Like I'm trying to change our scenario here. We barely making it. You understand? If I'm giving that to you, it will make. I would assume, and I guess this is the part about being clear in communication. I would assume that you will approach our business decision different. Because at the same time, like my brother and them, he was still active duty military. So he really good on the personal side. You know what I mean? Only people who was like 100% in this with nothing was him and I. But he's okay because all the assets the business got, 3-4 cars, so you could jump in and out, do whatever. You stand with my brother, so you don't have to worry about rent, this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it made it look different. And I went through a battle from May till August trying to figure out exactly what I was going to do, how I was going to do it. And that's when you guys had the boot camp. And I was like, well, I think it's time for me to go on my own. And that's when you was like, well, if it's working, but I ain't want to get into like all the stuff that was happening.
For sure, because I don't believe in quitting when it's tough, right?
Right.
So, but I agree, because I think it's a very similar mindset and opportunity when I was talking about, hey, in the partnership I was in, I needed to be clear about what I needed and my needs so I could feel like a whole person.
For sure.
And so it's a very similar dynamic when you're like, hey, I'm in this business relationship, even though it's with my family, I don't feel as a whole person because I can't take care of my family and I can't take care of my responsibilities. And I don't think I should come to you, Dad, to say, hey, we need money for groceries. We need money for X, Y, and Z. No, I should get paid a salary. I should get compensated for said work. And I think that is just really, we tighten up and bundle up the partnership thing is communication and having clear, defined roles on how we get paid, how we operate, and how we do things, whether it's your dad, your mom, your husband, or your wife.
Right. Or just a stranger, right? Absolutely. So it's being that clear. And also maintaining your individual identity, because I struggle with that. Like, who am I in this space as us joining together? Yeah. And that's why I said, when you asked me would I do it different, no, because I knew God told me to do it. I just didn't know what I was getting into, right? But it propelled me to be where I am now, which we're in a good space, right? There's no ill will, like it don't, things happen. It ended horrible, right? I'm not going to continue to go into the story, but it ended crazily horrible in my opinion. But I think everything happened how it needed to happen.
Absolutely.
And the way that it was supposed to happen to birth all of our experiences.
Absolutely.
So would I do it different? For sure. Spiritually, not really, because I believe that that's what we're supposed to. And then my wife also understands that too. She's like, no, I get it. I get it now. Yeah. Like, this was I wasn't feeling it. Right. I don't trust him. I don't this. Don't bring him here. I don't want him to see my.
Yeah, I'm like, no.
See, I ain't having
Don't even come over here. You gonna get all this smoke.
Right.
He said you gonna get all this smoke.
To this day, he a distraction. You need to. I'll be like, all right, cool. Let me figure this out. Right. So like,
relax, Tonto.
Right. I'd be like, but it's real. So it's navigating what that looks like. So, I hope y'all learn something in our partnership in our partnership conversations as you deal with your different partnerships, whether it's your family, your spouse, right? Whether it's two friends, me and whoever get together and we got to talk about what these details look like.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the structure. We got to talk about the operations. We got to talk about how we getting paid, if we getting paid.
Absolutely.
Right. All these things is a factor. Don't go into this with hopes and dreams and no plan.
Clearly communicate what your expectations are, what you anticipate, and if it's area. Because if there's an area for that, because some businesses, no one may get paid for the first year or 2 years, right? Some people are investing. So you just have to be really transparent and communicate, and put pen to paper. Get somebody to sign off of it and say, here, this is your portion, this is my portion. Yeah. This is what we are sticking to. So partnerships are amazing because we saw and can hear how that was working for you guys, because more than two is better than one.
For sure.
Right? I think about the same thing with me and my husband. The collective minds can work and build empires, but it's how we do it, how we communicate it, how we document it, and making sure that everyone's personal needs are met. I think. Yeah.
So it's a wrap, y'all. It's episode 6. Make sure you tune in, like, share, subscribe, comment. If you got any questions, if you want to say something, put it in the comments. We in there. We see y'all. What do y'all want to hear, see, or anything, right? So that's a wrap. But then when I'm looking at your activity and the numbers, right, as I'm doing your books, I'm seeing something opposite. You can't tell me you love your family and look at what you're doing with your money, right? Or how you're growing your business or what you're doing. And like I said, it's no different from that. So being serious and holding not only myself accountable, but if I'm gonna hold me accountable, I'm surely I'm gonna hold you accountable.
For sure. And I think a lot of it